I'll tell you, like, this is a kind of show where you watch and you're just kind of watching and going along and you're enjoying it, and then all of a sudden you go, holy shit, what? I was texting him like, Melissa, who, when, how, what?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fandomly Speaking,
where each week we speak randomly about fandoms. I'm Liza.
and I'm Melissa, and this week, finally, we are getting very random about AMC's interview with the vampire.
That's
Liza had
right.
homework.
I did. We actually finally did homework, right? We always have written down at the bottom of our notes, give each other homework. We never do that. And so we finally did. And I watched the entirety of Interview with a Vampire. So there will be major spoilers for this TV show and probably also the books.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So major spoilers.
Yeah, major spoilers. And the other warning is we are two Gen X autistic women, and these are not linear conversations.
No.
We are just being unmasked and overstimulated and
That's
talking.
Right. That's right.
Yep.
We are.
Yeah.
And so also we don't mind if you haven't seen Interview, just take a pause on our video and go check it out and come back in a couple weeks and watch us then. We're fine with that.
We're fine.
Yeah.
So Liza, what'd you do this week in geeking?
So I did finish the OA, which was your homework. I was rewatching it because next week, guys, we're going to talk about the OA. So that gives you some time to go watch that show as well. Yep. It's on Netflix.
And it's only 2 seasons, and I think it's only short. 8 episodes each.
Yeah, it's only 8 episodes each.
Yeah.
I did finish Slewfoot, which was great feminine rage book, as I said. So good. I recommend it. I read The Sunlit Man, which is one of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere standalone books. So that was neat. I didn't even know he'd written it, but there we go. And I started today on something called Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Have you read the Emily Wilde series?
I
had never heard of it.
Yeah,
I'd never heard of it. So I was like, that's really cool. I hope it's good. I've had a hard time finding books lately.
I think somebody gave it to me as a gift, but it does look interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty neat. So that's all I've been doing. And I did finish the Mob Psycho 100 anime for the first time I finished an anime in a long time. So
Good. Did you like it?
Yeah, it's very good. My daughter was so happy. She was like, now I can send you memes.
Aw, that's so sweet.
And I get it.
Yeah,
so.
It's awesome.
All right, what did you do?
This week in geeking, I did, I haven't been to Bon Temps all week. I just realized that.
Really?
No, I've been watching Supernatural.
Yeah.
So now I'm like 3/4 of the way through season 9.
All right.
So yeah, I've been really just, rolling around in the Supernatural, and it's good because I forgot how good some of these later seasons really were.
They're really good. Yeah, they are.
This, season 9 is where Dean has the mark of Cain.
I love that season.
So much good personal development for Sam, Dean, and Cass, and Crowley. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
So I've been doing that. I've been re-listening to the Expeditionary Force books.
Yep.
Because a new one came out, and so now I have to listen to all 18 of them before I read 19.
You have to.
You have to. You just have to. I love those books so much. Even when they're like a little blah, it's still good. You still laugh. Yeah. And I'm reading The Last Days of Marilyn Monroe, and I know that isn't necessarily geeky, but I am fascinated by Marilyn Monroe. And
this is like a biography that someone wrote?
It's interesting because somebody told me that it was written like a novel, but it's not. It's a biography. It's Patterson and somebody else. So her
life is just that interesting, I guess.
Her life is so tragic.
As all of the starlets from that era.
Oh, the abuse was absolutely. And I've just gotten to the part where she and JFK are hooking up on the regular. So I'm almost at the end.
Gracious. Okay.
Yeah. And I can't, I think that's pretty much all I've done. Yeah. So, yeah. Slow week for me in geeking.
I mean, as you said before we started, there are also the horrors. So, we have to... our geeking sometimes takes a back seat.
Takes a back seat to the situation that we are going through. I do have I just have to tease. I have to tease influencers for a second because exactly what I said would happen happened. So like over this past weekend. So we're filming this on the 30th. So this previous weekend, bunch of people, including myself, said, you know, like, hey, lifestyle influencers and all these people and mom influencers, you know, like posting your hauls or your whatever right now is feeling a little weird. You know, and your silence on other things is deafening. And so, you know, a few people said, you know what, I didn't know, but I'm going to come out and I'm going to say my piece. And that was great. And then they posted, they're like, oh, you know, I came out against ICE and I lost like 3,000 followers, but I gained 10,000, right? The genuine people who are really like, wow, that is, you know, thank you for following me, right? And I said, what did I say, Liza? I said, wait. Now people are going to do it performatively to gain followers. Yeah, and so my whole week has been watching all of these people who really don't give a shit pretend to give a shit.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of back in 2020, the little black square on the the profile pic.
Yeah. So, you know, as a white liberal woman, I would like to say, white liberal woman, we still need to do better. There's more. Do better.
So much better.
So much more.
So much work.
We suck. Okay. We are part of the problem. You can't just point at the white men. You cannot. No. The finger has to point back at us. I am as complicit in this as anybody else. And that's horrifying and it hurts and it makes you feel bad about yourself and it's very uncomfortable. And everybody in America needs to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's right.
Because you know what? There are huge segments of our country who have never been comfortable 1 minute in our country.
That's right. That's true.
Welcome to the team. I've said my piece. Anyway, interview with the vampire.
Yes, I am so excited about this conversation. I'll tell you why. Because I know that this is this your top favorite show, right? Like right now?
Right now, yeah.
I mean, how many times have you watched it all the way through? Like 5 and then several times?
I've watched it 5 times all the way through. And I think I watched the finale last night or the night before. And I think that was the 6th or 7th. Because there have been times when I have just watched the last episode. Because it's...
So I love talking to people about things that make them really happy. And so talking about something that makes you just really happy is exciting. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think, you know, the way this series was structured differently from the books, the changes that were made are so important even today in the America that we're living in. The conversations about race, about being othered, about the LGBT stuff, like fascist.
I don't feel like they took the story and destroyed it by changing it either. No. Like it all seems to work really well with the original story.
Absolutely.
The personalities really worked well.
They do. And the quick recap is like what's different from the books. If you don't know and you've watched the show but you never read the books, I've read the books dozens of times. The difference is, first of all, that Louis Dupont-du-Lac is a black man. And his family owned a sugar plantation, which his dad ran into the ground, and it also takes place like after the Civil War,
20th century,
early 20th century. So the time is it's a different time, but it's still Louisiana, it's still New Orleans, and it's a really good education for what segregation looked like.
And Louis was he was mixed, right? Isn't that what I got from that?
No, his mom and dad
grandfather was white, right?
I think
he
so.
Owned. Yeah. He was the Dupont-du-Lac who owned the plantation.
Right.
That's so.
I think that's how it's set up. Yeah. And so he's a man of wealth of a certain kind, and he does this by owning sporting houses, which are poorhouses, and that all of the white aldermen and everybody go to Louis', sporting houses, and that was very different. And I will admit, the first times I tried to watch this, because I have a Louis in my head,
right?
That is different. It's a completely so I was like, okay, this is but then once I just surrendered to this story, let it be this story, it's so good.
And so I had to tell myself, that's so funny, because I had to tell myself that you've gone on and on about how good it was, and so that was my homework, and I'm watching it, and I remember that I'm watching the first episode and I was just like, I don't know, Melissa. But I remembered, I was like, Melissa, how many times did you watch the first episode before you finally gave it a chance? I was like, I know you told me you gave it 2 or 3 shots before you finally gave in. And so I had to do that, because that first episode was not, I don't know what it is. It's not that it's bad. It just wasn't Interview.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's just not Interview. It's just something else. They're trying to set up a different story, and it's like, I don't know.
it's very
Do I like
challenging
this?
if you're familiar with the original
Yeah.
version of the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you sort of settle in and go, oh yeah, or did you, like, overall, what did you think? Let's start there.
I really enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was fantastic. I have not read the book more than once in my life. So I have read it, but I haven't read it more than once. So I don't have this just really fixed image of them in my head. It's just I know the story, and this was totally different. So I had to kind of work through that as we're going, and seeing Daniel as Anthony Bourdain, basically.
Yes.
He came in, I was like, wait a minute.
Doing his best Tony Bourdain. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap. Okay.
Yep.
As a grown man of that age, it was just all a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think one of the most interesting things is the way they set this up as the same. Louis found Daniel, who interviewed him back in 1974 in San Francisco.
As a young man.
A young man. A young heroin addicted young man in the Castro, trying to, just he's collecting stories from people, and he meets a vampire. And at the end of that incident, he gets attacked by a vampire, but they don't turn him and they don't kill him.
Yeah.
So now here he is all these years later with his mind has been muddled with, but we don't know that for quite a while.
And they gave him Parkinson's in this show.
Yes.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I've read or heard anyone comment on why that choice was made, but it's an interesting choice.
It is.
I
thought so.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was. Maybe they felt like it makes Daniel's desire to be a vampire make more sense. Because honestly, after you've interviewed these beings, why would you ever want that? That never made sense to me. Like, why would you want that after you've interviewed these beings? But I think that if you had Parkinson's and you were older, it makes more sense that you would want something like that for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. We're going to find out, hopefully, now that it switches over to the Vampire Lestat in season 3. We don't know how Daniel got turned. We know it's Armand, but we don't see how it happened. So I'm wondering if we are going to see a scene where, just like so much of this show subverts what you think you know, and we're thinking Armand attacked him, and instead maybe it is Daniel going, do it.
I'll tell you, this is a kind of show where you watch and you're just kind of watching and going along and you're enjoying it, and then all of a sudden you go, holy shit, what? I was texting him like, Melissa, who, when, how, what? I mean, just all of a sudden it'll turn what you've been watching on its head, and you didn't.
And I was so glad that I somehow avoided knowing
I had no
who
spoilers.
Rashid really was. I did not know that because I didn't look at who the actors were. Like, I tried not to. And so when it was revealed that Rashid is not real Rashid, we meet real Rashid later, but he's actually Armand pretending to be Rashid. I was so glad that I got that surprise.
And what did you think about the casting of Armand in this?
I think that they did something, again, really interesting in playing with race. And they change his story. But in the books, Armand is from like the steppes of Russia, and he was in this creepy ass monastery. And he drew icons, and it was all very creepy. And there were these monks that used to bury themselves in the dirt, and he would have to go feed them like once a day. It was he had a really creepy background. So we just took the story and we went, you know what? It's a different. Let's say it happened in a different time. He came from India, he was brought, and then he was sold into slavery, and then Marius found him and
there was two things
him.
I felt when I figured out who he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be Armand. First, I really loved the actor. I really thought that physically he was I think they want them to be beautiful. They're all beautiful. He was beautiful, and I liked the actor and what they did. But I think that the people who cast him thought he looked a lot younger than I think he looked, because Armand is supposed to be like 17 years old. He's supposed to be really young, right? Yeah. And them telling his story in the show, he was still telling like, I was 17 years old. I'm like, dude, no, you're not even. You look much older than that to me. So he doesn't pass as a kid to me like Armand is supposed to. So I think that whoever cast him thought he looked a lot younger.
Does he say it in the book or the show? I can't remember, because somebody said that, like, you know, a man of 16, or maybe it's in the Vampire Lestat, that they were men by then. They were considered to be grown men by then. But he looks like he's 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I could argue 27.
Yeah.
I can't even argue.
He's a little ambiguous with the age, but he does not look teens.
No. No.
Not at all.
Not at all. No. We're both like, no, not at all. And I love, the actor's really good. And then Jacob, who plays Louis, is, you know, he wins you over. Because he has the heavy lifting to do. Sam Reed, I mean, they found Lestat.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you on that. I think more than any other iteration that I've seen, I agree with you that he's the perfect Lestat.
Yeah. Even just his voice.
Asshole, that beautiful, beautiful vampire, just the worst evil inside from being alive, from his own personal traumas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. He did so good.
Yeah. So I think Jacob does. He just creates this almost new character. His neuroses and the things that he brings into his vampiric life are completely different than what Book Louis had. And he does.
But I think that what they did with writing the show and putting him as a young 20th century black man makes way more sense actually than what Anne wrote. So sorry. Yeah. Anne Rice. It makes more sense that he would have this. He would still have this kind of tumultuous relationship with Lestat in the present day. When, as before, I've always wondered when you write vampire novels, why are they still having so many emotional problems after hundreds of years? I mean, my God, if you're living forever and after hundreds of years you still have the same problem you did in 1640.
Yeah.
You know,
they don't mature.
Get over it. Stop it.
At all.
Get past that. And so for Louis, this is actually still quite fresh in the story. It's only been 100 years.
Yeah.
You know? It hasn't been 400. So
and it's been 100 really fucked up years.
Yeah, right. It has.
In his personal life, and then in his vampiric life, and then in the country around him.
Yes, it has.
I mean, you think of everything that he has seen and descended from slaves, and now, you know, he's got a lot going on.
He's got a lot going on. And so to me, his emotional state and his kind of mental state with his trauma makes more sense than the original Louis did.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I
thought it worked out.
Yeah. I think it was good. I think that what's really cool for the way this is set up is, even though these two seasons are based on Interview with the Vampire, and now I'm assuming we're going to get 2 seasons called The Vampire Lestat. So we're taking those first 2 books. And so I read the books out of order because I found The Vampire Lestat in a used bookstore, even though it had just come out. It had just come out, but it was in a used bookstore. And because I used to buy used books because teenager, no money. And I read it and I loved it. And I loved Lestat. I know
Did you?
But I
you were a teenager.
And I still love him.
Yeah.
I'm the one who loves Damon Salvatore, okay? So, I love all the bad vampires because they're not real.
That's true.
But, so... I think it's just so fascinating. The first season of Interview with the Vampire, we get Louis' perspective of everything, right? So Louis like retelling the story to Daniel from the beginning, so we get the story, but unreliable narrator, so unreliable narrator, who has been gaslit for 77 years by Armand.
Yes. I did love that he wasn't the only narrator, though, that they brought in Claudia's diaries to be part and kind of contrast Louis' narration for this. So it wasn't quite, hey, everything you're getting. That's why Daniel was able to be like, that's not what she said. That's not what she said, bro. You know, like,
And Eric Bogosian, I think, is such a treasure. And in this, he just really anchors the show. And I love how he fucks with Armand. Like, you know, the whole time he was getting under Armand's skin. Yes. And he knows he is too. Because he sees him for what he is from the very beginning. And I love
Daniel's character, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Daniel
he's
sees Armand
he's
for
such
what he is.
he's a delightful asshole. I love him. I love him the whole time. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about these guys.
No, he's not even afraid of them anymore. He calls them out. And when he busts out laughing, when they tell him that, you know, they're a couple and blah, blah, blah. And then they do that creepy thing like famous couples do where they sit down for an interview with Barbara Walters and like they hold hands on a couch and they're like all lovey-dovey and it's just so performative. I love that scene. But then when he busts out laughing and he's like, wait, you both fucked Lestat! Ah!
And he says something, I wish I could remember the quote. He says something to the effect of like the ultimate rebound guy or something like he's your real like.
He really, I mean, it is so good because he is so amused by that story, and I'm just like, oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
It was so good. And so you get this situation where the whole first season, right, we got Louis, we've got some Claudia. Then second season, now Armand starts to interject more into the story with his bullshit.
Yeah, he does. But I did want to go back just really quickly. I'm sorry to
no, please.
When they introduced Claudia, I really liked that they aged her up to 14. It makes this story so much better. It makes so much. Now there is a absolute horror in turning a little. What was Claudia originally, like 7, 8,
6 or something?
Yeah, like that. That's absolutely horrific, and so. It's very disturbing to me, the original story with Claudia being so young. And so she was still very young and hated it, but it made the whole story make a lot more sense in the context of what was going on.
She was able to have more of an understanding of life as a 14-year-old black girl living in Storyville. So she lives in the area where the sporting houses are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this
emotionally, they were... Well, in the book, here's the other thing. In the book, vampires don't have sex. And so that's the other thing they changed for the show. They are able to have sexual intercourse. But
they are also describing the drinking blood as like sex between vampires. So that's why the scene when they have this massive fight after Claudia comes back and he takes him up however many 1,000 feet in the air and he's drinking his blood, that's definitely a rape scene that we're watching right there.
Yeah.
A domestic abuse, a severe domestic abuse and rape scene in that instance.
It is. And Lestat's confession of that is because the script that Santino and Armand wrote it didn't have, you know, it was like, oh, you did that, you know, like, and Lestat kind of, and then we go back in time and see this whole horrible, you know, rape and beating. I don't even know what you would call. I mean, he gets dropped thousands of feet, but he can't die. So like every bone in his body is broken,
right?
And he can't move. But when Lestat says, and Sam Reed is such a good actor that he keeps selling you on Lestat because he has this he does this whole confession and he says, I could not make him love me, so I broke him. Yeah. And that is the perfect look inside an abuser's mind.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so hard for me. It's because Lestat is an abuser. He's just
But so
abusive.
is Louis.
But Lestat is an abuser in the way that so many domestic partners are being abused right now in the world. And I can't remember if it was Claudia or Daniel who says it, but I think it's Daniel. And I wish I had the quote. I should have written things down when I was watching this. I wish I had the quote where he says, you're like a battered wife with Stockholm syndrome. You know, that's why the last episode, and I know you love it, the last episode was so hard for me because I'm like, there's nothing romantic about this. He went back to his abuser after all this time. And I love these shows. Like, I loved Hannibal. You would actually really like Hannibal with Mads Mikkelsen. It's just, it's the same kind of thing where they're in love with their abuser. You know, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. It makes it difficult.
I am, how I'm looking at that is that in the intervening 77 years, Lestat has never been okay. No. And so he's doing the thing that vampires do where they either literally go underground and starve themselves, or he's just been hiding in that, you know, with the shack falling down around him, this little house in New Orleans. And I'm choosing to believe that there's been some soul searching and personal growth, And I'm basing that mostly on the very last line that Lestat says, which is when she was dying, Claudia, she looked at me. She looked into my eyes.
Oh, yeah. Yes. About Claudia. On
Like
the
I
stake.
was her. He can't even finish the sentence. Like I was her father.
Right.
And it was, and what the realization, I think, for Lestat after all of how many years is like, she was our daughter.
You're
my
so
daughter.
funny to me. You are the best person that I know. You have such a hopeful view of humanity and people, like, all the time. And I am over here like, don't go back to him. Like, don't do that. Because
I wouldn't have chosen to go back to him,
in real life, if you have a domestic partner, I don't care if it's been 15, 20 years, if they have gone through therapy and religious experience and they've converted and they're all better, you don't go back to them. You don't ever
We've
go
had
back to them.
this conversation before. Yeah.
But I know it's fiction, and I know. You're just you're so much of a better
but
person,
in real
hopeful
life,
than me.
In real life, to be clear, I wouldn't go back to my abuser. I have not gone back to an abuser. I've made that choice. There is nothing you could possibly
see past
say to me.
it. I can't see. Like, I think that Lestat is like the perfect, not just in this iteration, like in all of them, just the perfect like bad guy, bad villain.
He's
just
the brat
so
prince.
fun. Yes, he is so.
That's what they call him in the books. He is
and
the
that's why
brat
you love
prince.
him, because he's just such a brat. It's like, oh my god. Dude,
yeah,
he's
well, and
perfect.
that, like, they throw it in his face at one point when he's like, when Louis begging him to turn Claudia, and all of a sudden, after all these years, Lestat brings out, it's against the rules, the high rules, or whatever they call him, and Louis is like, when the fuck have you ever followed a rule?
Right.
Like, now you're bringing up rules.
Right. Can you explain that to me? Because I didn't understand. So I watched the whole first season, right? And with the whole story of Claudia, and she was burning up in a building that was Louis' fault, I guess.
Yeah.
The buildings were burning down.
Well,
And so
because he did that thing where he killed the alderman and hung him, and crucified him on a fence.
They didn't like that. So they burnt down half of New Orleans because of that.
Yeah.
And so he turned Claudia. Lestat turned Claudia. And that seemed like what happened. But as you said, Lou was he wasn't a very good narrator for this story. Yeah. So then in season 2, we saw something else happened in that scene.
Yes.
I don't get it. What happened?
So we see Lestat's side of the story.
Yeah, what was Lestat said? I didn't understand
because Louis is like, oh, I found this girl and she's burning and we have to save her. But Lestat's side of the story is, I told you no. I told you that, he's doing it as in a play. And he's like, I told him she will be a cripple. She will be 14 years old forever. Yeah. She will have a horrible life. And also this coven in Paris that he never told Louis existed. Right. He has never told them that there are other vampires, and he knows where they are, which is why they do the whole going to Europe thing looking for vampires in season 2.
Which is crazy.
And all of a sudden he brings out the great laws. And one of those laws is that you never turn a child into a vampire. So, when we see his side of the story, and then we also see he repeatedly tells Louis no, and this is why I'm like, Louis is also, this is just an mutually abusive relationship, honestly, and they're both deeply disturbed people. And Louis then does that sick thing where he drags this burnt 14-year-old girl off the bed by her arm and drags her across the room.
Right.
And he's begging him.
I watched that episode like this.
And then he says to Lestat, if you turn her, I promise I'll be happy. I'll stay and I'll be happy.
And then Daniel's talking about she was like the baby that you have to keep the marriage. Yes! To keep the marriage together.
That's exactly what she was.
So
Lestat does it. And it's the worst thing they've ever done, and it's the worst thing they ever could do. But it doesn't escape me, at least in this story, that Armand was only a couple years older than they're claiming Claudia was. Yeah. Where's Marius? Are we going to put Marius on trial?
Now, I did love,
Marius's trial?
when they finally went to Paris and they finally met Armand's coven and they got in with them and Claudia became one of them. and Louis did not. I actually really loved the scene after the horrible scene of them locking him in that tomb, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Was a crypt in the rocks, which made my skin crawl all over. Just all
I couldn't
over.
breathe. No.
I loved his retribution. I love a good retribution scene. A good comeuppance. I absolutely love it. So I love Louis' retribution against the entire theater.
I love how he taunts Santiago. He goes into his head and finds his most embarrassing moment of pissing himself on stage because he's not as good. He's not a good Shakespearean actor. And he taunts him with that. I love that.
Yes. So why do you think in all of these stories, the show and the book and the original movie, why is it that they want to make Louis so humanized? Because it looks like in terms of every other vampire that we meet, they're all awful. They're just all corrupt and evil and awful, and they don't care about humans. They've lost their humanity completely. Even Claudia, right?
Oh, yeah.
Honestly. But Louis is just like the one vampire who doesn't do that. I mean, I don't understand why.
I think Louis is supposed to be the person the reader relates to.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing from the viewer. There has to be one vampire in this story.
Yeah.
That is like, I'm just going to suck rats. It's so gross. He just picks them up and he's like,
I'm just gonna okay.
It's so gross. It's
yeah,
so
it
gross.
really is. In this particular show, it really is gross. I'm like, you can stop doing that.
Please don't show us the sucking of rats again.
Yeah.
God, it was so nasty.
At least,
think that's
the
why he's
Cullens
so
were
human.
out like hunting deer and stuff. I was like,
Yeah. No. He's like, I'm in New Orleans. I got a lot of rats. Yeah.
but they didn't need, in this story, they don't need to drink blood, right? They just get kind of weak or something if they don't. They just,
Yeah, it's not.
they can go a really long time without it.
And it depends on how old you are. When you're young, you need to drink a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And then as you get older, or if you get an infusion like Lestat did of really powerful ancient blood, the ancients don't drink as much. They don't even have to. They just do it because it's fun.
Right.
They don't have to drink blood anymore. They get to that point, but they love it so much, which is gross.
So why, when they first got to Europe, then they first met their very, very first vampire, the Nosferatu, looking weird, burnt. Why was he like that if he was a baby? I still didn't understand why he was all gross and messed up and bald and
I didn't really
desiccated.
explain that very well.
The old lady was like, "He's the baby."
I think what it was, but I don't think it was explained well. But I have tried to come up with it too, because they find this Witch of Endor type vampire living in a hut with a fireplace, and she's the one who's been turning. I think why he was like that, and I do in the book they called them something like revenants or something, bad turns, where you didn't quite get it right, and so.
So is that what Claudia was doing while she was gone for 7 years?
Yes.
She was trying to make vampires, just making bad.
She was making bad vampires. And sometimes they die, or sometimes they end up like Nosferatu with like no senses and just. So he was a baby. She had just recently made him. And remember, they say they try to explain to her that the blood here is bad, which I thought was so interesting.
Yes, because it was right in the middle of World War II. Oh, is it World War I? I thought it was later.
Oh yeah, it's World War II. I'm sorry. Yeah. That the blood of the people in Europe is bad. They just say it's
bitter.
bad.
It's bitter.
It's bitter. It doesn't taste right, and they're sad all the time.
Right.
Because they're drinking the blood of these people who are going through this horrific time, and that's not in any of Anne's books. So I thought that was a really interesting commentary on what war does to people.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Poor vampires.
Poor vampires. They couldn't find anything good to eat.
Yeah, I like that.
Poor vampires. It's such a hard life for them. Yeah. How did you feel about because I know season one. It's all right. So the end of season one, they kill Lestat.
Yeah, they did, and I knew that was coming, right? I mean, if you've read the story, you know it's coming. So I knew it was coming. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I was so irritated by Antoinette's character. Yeah. So irritated by him having her spy on them for so long, but I loved that Claudia had known the whole time as well, and double planting bad information. That was another thing, you know, that one scene early on where Louis meets his old army buddy or whatever he was, his old friend, and they kind of hook up, and it pissed Lestat off, even though Lestat's having affair after affair after affair. Again.
I think it was, well, here's what I think. I think Lestat was having sex with women.
Yeah.
And to him, if
That
he
didn't
had
mean
sex
anything.
with a man, it would be cheating. Because there are, okay, look,
What
right,
a revelation.
how many supposedly straight married men
Oh, yeah.
go out and have sex with men and do not see it as cheating on their wife.
That's right. That's
It's
true.
and
I didn't think of it like that, but you're exactly
so
right.
Hurt. He's so
Yeah.
hurt. And
Because-
Louis like, dude, you're coming at me with this?
Yeah,
What
you're
the hell
right.
you
I
been
think that's
doing?
probably true. Antoinette didn't mean anything to him.
No. And I think he turns her out of just like spite. Just,
Well, so that he
you know
could
what?
have
I'm going to
little
make a new
spy.
companion.
Well, he could have a little spy on them.
Yeah.
You know, because he couldn't hear Louis' thoughts.
Yep.
Or Claudia's thoughts. So that was that drove him nuts.
Yep. Yeah, and he knew they were talking about him.
Yeah.
And it was just all, he just really had a problem with that. But yeah, so they think they killed him.
Of course they threw him in the damn dump. I was like, really?
That was Louis' decision.
Really?
Though, and that's why Claudia is not speaking to him when they get to Europe.
That's right.
So that
She's
means on a
mad.
ship, however many days it took them, because remember, they're not going on a plane to Europe. They have to go on a boat in the cargo
Yeah.
and eat rats.
That's it.
Yeah. And then Louis happy. So many rats on the boat. Oh, yum.
So many rats. Well,
And-
so she knew, and they had to both know he was still alive. They had to know that.
They had to know that. That's why, and because she keeps saying to him, we should have burned him, because she knows
Right.
Lestat's not dead.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it was interesting because in the books, they don't know that they would have to burn him to really, really kill him. They know that
I
you
still
can
remember
be
that
burned.
scene in the book, and just reading that scene about him being thrown in the swamp and how he survived just off like worms that would come through. Like, I
Yep.
guess that's all right for now.
And then eventually got a little more strength. He could
Yeah.
grab a fish.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah, the
So,
evolution.
and
of
it took him a
vampire.
long time, and he was still very, very, kind of scarred and burnt and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it made more sense in the books that they thought he was
did.
dead.
It did.
In the TV show, it's like, he's not dead,
Yeah.
and that's why she's so pissed at him.
Which
She's
makes
like, you
sense, right?
couldn't do it. And then at the trial, at the very end, right before Claudia dies, when she stands up and she says it again, and she goes, "It has never been about me.
Right.
Never. It has always been about you two and your screwed up relationship. It has never been about me." And she's right.
That's right. She is right. And that's what I said. That's why Daniel was so right about the baby to save the marriage. It's like that, you know, in
Yep.
those kinds of relationships.
So, yeah, then they're in Europe, and then the trial happens, and the trial is many episodes, right? Is it two full
I
length?
think it's at
two very
least
long
two
episodes?
full-length episodes. Yeah, it's at
Yeah.
least 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And it is just tragic. I mean, and you can feel it coming. Like, you know that it's coming.
Yeah.
They're building it up. And it's just like, I can remember this. I don't know what's wrong with me, Melissa. We've talked about that I don't watch TV much. And so
Yeah.
watching these 2 shows, the Interview with the Vampire and then
Yeah.
the OA, my heart was just beating so hard during some of these scenes. And that didn't used to happen. Like, I just sit and watch and be entertained. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh my God, do I need to take my pulse? Like, what? So I could tell this was coming. And I'm just like, my
Yeah.
heart's beating fast. I'm like, oh God, this is going to be so awful. This is going to be. And it was. It was gruesome and
Was
awful.
worse. It was so much worse than I expected it to be. Claudia took so long to burn because she has Lestat's blood. She was made by Lestat, and his blood is stronger. So she didn't go up like a fledgling vampire. And also, she's been around for 50 years, which isn't that long in vampire years, though.
But her giving the big fuck you to the crowd and singing the Baby in the Window song right at the end. It was so good. It was so awful.
And then when she
but
turns
so
around
good.
and she looks at him, and her face is burning away, and
So you and I talked about, I don't know if you guys were supposed to go watch, okay? You were supposed to go watch and come back.
Yeah.
But if you didn't, they swapped the actresses out on Claudia.
Yes.
And I texted you, I'm like, why did they do that? I don't get it. I think in most shows this would have just sucked. I really do.
Yeah.
Like in most shows, it just sucks if you just redo an actress or an
Yep.
actor. You know, it's bad. This was pretty good. I did not. I mean, within the first episode, I'd forgotten that they swapped.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, she totally integrated into that role and took on Claudia.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it works, but I don't remember hearing about it when it happened. But
Yeah.
the one feeling that I had, and it turns out it's because Bailey, who's right, it's Bailey. She's the first actress.
Okay.
She was contractually obligated for The Last Airbender.
Oh, is that right?
She couldn't film when the second season was
makes
starting,
sense.
so they replaced her with Delaney. And
Really good.
it's who is really good, and they were both excellent,
They really
excellent in the
were.
role. But it does kind of work because Bailey played her a little bit younger, and now 50 years later, you know, you've got
Yeah.
Delaney. But what did kind of bug me was that it almost it's like, so just any black girl around that age would have worked, right?
Well, what
Like,
it reminded me of, and
What?
you don't see this in TV or whatever. It usually, like I said, it doesn't work. What it reminded me of is the roles that we have like on Broadway, right? They're played by different people. It's the same character played by different, and that's kind of how, even at the beginning, they put it on the card, like they put it now played by, and that's kind of what it made me feel like. Okay, so now we have a different actress portraying this, and she's going to bring her, you know, feeling into it. I thought it worked. I thought it was really weird to have a different actress, but I liked her.
but it ends up working, and she had the rage.
She did.
She
really
played
did.
that rage. I mean, you feel it. First of all, I love the character of Madeline.
I did too.
I thought that was a really deft way to show what it was like in Paris and in Europe in that time.
I've never seen that portrayed in any media, like other than history books and other than history video. I've never seen that woman portrayed in media before.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, her story never gets told, but it's a story of so many women.
So she was one that was considered a Nazi sympathizer and then marched out into the streets after the war was over, head shaved, humiliated, constantly berated by neighbors. And,
Because she took as a lover a young German soldier. And, like, I get where people would have a problem with that. I get that. But the way they treated her was...
well, you can understand why. I mean, even with what's going on in our country right now, you and I have both talked about, we'll never forget what these people did, right?
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, women do what they have to survive so often. So
Yeah.
it's hard.
It was hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
And I love that Claudia found somebody who loved her for exactly who she is.
Yeah.
Like during the trial, when Claudia, you know, starts to speak out, you know, Madeline's terrified. She has no idea what's going on. She's just been turned. Like, she doesn't know anything. But you can see the love and pride and admiration for Claudia's courage. Because they're kindred spirits. They really are, because she had tremendous courage, because they would come and they would paint the swastika on her window and she'd keep cleaning this. She's like, go ahead, do it again. I'll clean it again. She stood up to them. And then she's being beaten and SA'd, and Claudia comes and saves her. But those people were going to kill her.
Yeah,
at
for
that
sure.
point. You know, and it's because she stood up to them. And, you know, Claudia saw her and went, I get you, girl. I get you.
Yeah,
We get
and
each other.
isn't that, I mean, it's the same type of character in the original, right? The kind of
Yeah.
mother figure to Claudia who they turned for her, right?
Yes.
Who was Madeline? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a slightly different story, but yeah, they
Right.
think, well, this will make Claudia happy. And I don't think there's anything that's going to make Claudia happy, because you turned a child into a vampire.
Right. So again, like I said, you go ahead and you watch this show for entertainment, and all of a sudden it just turns itself on its ear and you go, wait, that's not what I thought I was watching. And so when Daniel said, hold up, back up everybody. Hey, Louis, that might not be how the way things happen. And Louis like, what do you mean that might not be how things happen? And, oh, are you sure Armand, because some of the little details you're telling me don't match up. Are you sure Armand was where you said he was supposed to be? And you learn that Armand is the one who orchestrated this absolute horrible shit show.
When he says he didn't witness the play, he directed the play.
And I'm telling you, like I said, my heart was beating so fast because it's so bad. It's just so awful. And so when I realized that, I was like, no, come on.
And you see as it starts to dawn on Armand. So Assad, who plays Armand, I think what I love is that they all do really nuanced acting.
Yes, they do.
They don't they don't go overboard. So you only with his eyes, which he has those super uncomfortable.
Except for Lestat.
in.
Lestat goes overboard. Even
But that's Lestat.
Right, exactly. That's exactly
That's
right.
what Lestat is. You know, he's overboard, and he has to be the center of attention.
That's right.
And but you just see just with his eyes and the tension that starts to form in his jaw when they keep cutting to him, because as Daniel starts, and I love how Daniel does the Columbo thing in that scene.
Yeah.
And
he's
he's like, do you guys mind if I just ask you a few questions, just a couple clarifying questions, just to make sure my notes are okay? And he starts with an easy one, you know, like, oh, when you were, but you know, was Sam upstairs watching Armand, or was he downstairs putting you in the coffee? Because you have him in two places. Yeah. And you know, Louis like, I must have misremembered it.
I mean,
like,
the huge balls
sure.
on Daniel, honestly, I was terrified for him. And then they didn't attack and do anything, but I was just sitting there like, oh my God, you're going to get killed.
I would have been thinking, Armand's going to rip my head off my body.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Because even as you're watching it, you're
way
like,
less scared of Armand than I would have been.
Yeah, you're like, oh God, Daniel, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's how I was.
And then that's when Armand all of a sudden he goes on alert. He's like, wait a second, he's finding the inconsistencies, and also, we forgot to mention that we find out over the course of all you know, these 2 seasons that back at the first interview in the Castro.
Yeah.
I remember when you're like, why is Rashid in San Francisco?
I did. I texted Melissa. So we have baby Daniel, right? What is it, 77 or something? Like baby Daniel in the gay bar. And they meet him. And all of a sudden, when Louis meets Daniel, up walks Rashid. And I was like, why is Rashid meeting He's supposed to be a human. This was 40 years ago. Why is he there? Or 50 years ago. I was like, what the heck?
Wait a minute,
something's not right
here.
That's what I did.
So good. And then so what happens is that Louis goes nutsy cuckoo, right? At the end of because young heroin addicted Daniel is like, I want to do it, turn me, come on.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, you don't understand the point of the whole story, right? So he attacks him. So then Armand has to go there and clean it up. And here's what we find out. In their argument when Armand comes to that apartment in San Francisco, and he's like, another young boy, I have to clean up after your mess again. And so we find out Daniel's not the first young man he's taken to this apartment and perhaps told his story to. Does he keep picking up men to tell them his story?
Yeah.
That's psycho. And then he probably kills them.
Yeah. For sure.
It's therapy.
It's also the reason why this is such a profound story for Daniel right now in the present age is because what he learned in the 70s wasn't the real story. It wasn't right. Yeah. Louis was just, like you said, therapy, trauma dumping on this poor kid, and he wasn't telling anything as it happened.
No. And now, then Armand mind fucks him. Armand goes and scrambles, and for a long time you're like, why do these intrusive thoughts keep happening to Daniel?
Yeah, Louis and Daniel have to untie all of the mind kind of melting that Armand did to them back then. Which that scene is actually horrific when Louis goes into the sun. That's awful.
I mean, it just shows you the depth of Louis. Louis has got a depression problem, man. In
that scene where he's picking apart the trial, Daniel, I mean, did we find out that real Rashid was the mole? Isn't that real Rashid?
Yes,
was
real
the mole?
Rashid, I guess, was getting paid by the Talamasca.
Yeah, okay, that's what
because they're here and they always watch. That's another one. I watched the first episode. I don't know if I'm going to watch that show because they made a Talamasca show because they're doing the Anne Rice Immortal Universe. And they did the Mayfair Witches, fucked it up. Nobody likes it. And now Talamasca, I had hope because I've always wanted more books just about the Talamasca, which is a secret order. We are always here and we watch but they don't get involved. So they were paying, he was in their employ as well. And so that's how he ends up sneaking to him the script with Armand's handwritten notes.
The original script.
He's like,
oh, by the way, let me ask you another question about this note.
Yeah.
in here that I just got with my newspaper this morning. I
Yeah.
love Daniel. That was so good.
Oh my God. And that scene is just so...
There's a next scene, I think either it's in the next episode or that same episode. They do something so cool, so interesting as a show. They have almost like a married couple who's about to get divorced. They have Louis and Armand talking. They're having the talk. Like, did you really? Yes, I did. And they're sitting on opposite sides of the room, and there's a shaft of sunlight that is dividing the room in half.
Yes,
so like
yes. In
they
the
can't
apartment,
cross
in the
it,
Castro.
right?
Yep.
They don't cross this line because there's like they can't even get to, I thought that was so brilliant.
That is a beautiful scene. It is really well shot. That shaft of light coming through, and it also catches your eye if you know vampire lore. You're like, man, pull those drapes, man. What the hell? And that scene is, and that's the one where, you know, Armand is like, are you just going to keep punishing me? Mm-hmm. Are you going to punish me forever? And I'm like,
yes.
But Daniel doesn't, but Louis doesn't know. He doesn't know that Armand killed Claudia. Essentially, that was Armand killing Claudia. But he's still holding the trial and everything against Armand. So Armand's like, are you just never going to forgive me?
Also, Armand rides what Lestat did in sending Louis to be, what is the word I'm looking for?
Banishment.
Banishment.
But he actually gets buried alive.
When
That is such a great scene too. That's yet another, because that's where, before he does the with the script, he does, you know, it just occurs to me. So he goes, let me ask you something. So Lestat, remember back in New Orleans, and Lestat brought all those soldiers in,
yes,
and then he had
way
to
back.
he had to mind fuck them to get them to leave. How many soldiers do you think were there? And Louis like, I don't know, 20, 25, something like that. And he's like, oh, interesting. And he goes, because you know, and the way he does it is so funny. He's like, because you know, it occurs to me that there were actually 2 people in that theater who could have saved you. Yeah. And that's when Armand's on red alert now.
He's like, shh, shut up.
Shut up. Because also,
I love it.
Here's what I'm going to say. In a battle between Lestat and Armand, Lestat's going to win because he's got the blood of Akasha. None of you know what that means, but unless you've watched Queen of the Damned, but or read books, and so, you know, Armand is probably still scared of Lestat, and he knows. Sure. He knows. I don't think Armand had actually the power to do what Lestat did and turn all of the audience.
You don't think so?
I don't think
but
Armand
he
could have done
rode
it.
on that for what, 70 plus years?
77
years.
I
saved you.
I couldn't save Claudia, but I saved you.
Right.
He never saved him. And that's why the scene after the trial, and they go and they find Lestat. He's in the place where where Magnus had turned him and imprisoned him with all the dead bodies of the boys that looked like him. Which is actually, as like a 13-year-old or 12-year-old reading that in the book, that creeped me out so much as a kid. That he just threw them in there with all of these bodies in various states of decomposition.
Right. So gross.
But they all look like him.
Yep.
So they find him in there, and you can tell
genx trauma.
I know, Lestat's not doing so good. But and then later on, when he goes and finds Lestat at the end of the season, and he's like, "Why did you let me go away with Armand?" Like, you fucking knew that Armand killed Claudia and he was gonna kill me. That Louis was supposed to die that night.
Right.
So I don't know why Armand turns around, gives him blood, and like...
But how long did that take in your estimation? Because this is the only complaint I have about the show, like, overall. I couldn't tell from the beginning episode to the last how long time was taking. It could have been a day. It could have been 7 years. I don't know. They didn't tell me because I couldn't tell how long things were going.
That was purposeful.
So like when Claudia disappeared, it was like a couple episodes later that I realized she'd been gone 7 years and not a couple days. You know
and
what I mean?
only because they told us.
Right. I did not understand this because they weren't really showing that. Not really. Maybe we were supposed to pick up subtle clues with the way people were dressing differently. I'm not that smart. So I didn't understand how long he was meant to have been buried in those rocks before
I don't know
Armand
either.
gave him blood.
Yeah, I don't know either, honestly. But I
He was
think
down there long enough. He was almost dead, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it was. I mean, it had to be years.
right? I thought
Had to
so
be
too. It
years.
must have been a long time.
But-
So why didn't Lestat get him out? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But here's the other thing, though. When they you're right. The time doesn't work here. It could have been 5 minutes because when they find Lestat in Magnus's lair, Lestat's still wearing the suit.
Yeah.
The suit, which, by the way, let me just pause for a moment because my husband is really into like suits and men's clothing. He doesn't really wear them anymore because he doesn't have a reason to anymore in his job. But my husband used to be, which is so funny because, you know. But anyway, I grabbed him and I was like, wait, come here. Look at this suit.
Check out the suit.
Look at this man in this suit. That is the most beautifully tailored suit and vest. I'm glad they went vest. The vest is holy shit. That is whoever designed that suit. But he's wearing that suit, but it doesn't look raggedy. So how long was he in Paris?
I mean, who knows? I don't know. I never could understand because the way Louis describes it, he had gotten to the point where he felt like he was going to die down there.
And then Armand either lies or tells the truth and says, I could hear his screams, and when a vampire starts to scream, they're almost dead. But here's the thing. No, they never die, first of all.
Yeah, I know.
And second of all, when Louis goes, I was screaming? I didn't think I was screaming.
Wait, and am I not wrong? Am I right that those other like little boxes are other vampires who were also shut in there? I was like, oh my god, that's so upsetting.
Some of them have been in there for hundreds of years.
That's right. So upsetting.
And they're not dead.
Yeah. So this is also why I said that Louis is the only good, and I'm going to put that in big quotations, vampire, because even Claudia, she knew that. She didn't give a shit. She didn't care. She's like, I don't care about those people in there.
She used to throw the bodies of the people that they brought up on stage and, you know, killed, but the audience
in the
didn't
rat
think it was
box.
real. In the rat box, and then they'd be like, oh, you can hear when they find the heart.
Yeah, so great. She didn't care.
Oh, and she was hiding her journal in there.
She was, wasn't she? Yeah, she was.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she was. So I don't know, but that was really weird. And then they do, like, you know, Batman versus Superman and destroy the apartment in Dubai. And Daniel, I'm like, and Roland James is you know, messaging like iMessage or whatever they're on his laptop, and Roland James is like, get out now. Because Roland
is
James
that
like,
the guy from the bar?
Is that the guy from the Talamasca? Yeah, that he met at the bar. Who's the one who got him that script?
Japanese I've ever seen on any show ever. I was like, just stop that, just cut. Just don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So, and he doesn't. You're like an idiot. He's like packing up his stuff. Like he's just going home from work. He's like, all right, let me not forget this, and I'm gonna, dude, run. Fucking run!
Yeah, Daniel's an interesting character to me. I mean, you get this sense that he's kind of at the end where he doesn't care, but also he wants this book so that he can, I don't know, like get famous. That's not the right word.
I know.
You know what
I mean,
like
he wants to prove to everybody that he's not washed up.
Yeah, it's just such an interesting, strange character.
He is.
Daniel is.
And hopefully we're going to explore more of Daniel. Because we know he's got 2 Pulitzers. So he went from being that kid in the Castro apartment that got, you know, nearly killed, got physically, you know, essayed with the blood drinking, and then got mind fucked by Armand. But then he went on to become an amazing reporter and won 2 Pulitzers. But then something happened. But
he's just got a lot of gumption, and I don't know if that's because he has Parkinson's and thinks he's going to die, or if it's something else in him. And he slaps Louis across the face. He deserved it. He absolutely deserved it. But who does that? Who slaps a, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple moments where you're like, Daniel, Jesus Christ.
Right.
But I
mean,
guess
Louis
he had to
absolutely
do that
deserved that slap. But
yeah.
because in that moment he had made his Parkinson's act up.
Yep.
Which is the most fucked up thing.
It was a horrible thing to do to him. It was I love that he slapped him for that. It's like, no, fuck you, don't
even
do
Armand was like, dang.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Can't believe you did that. There's a question about who is more emotionally honest, Lestat or Louis?
Emotionally honest. Well, I would say Lestat for sure.
Yeah. I think Lestat is, every moment that you see him, he is exactly who he seems to be, but that changes with the wind.
Sure.
But that's who Lestat is.
Louis is very emotional.
Yes.
You know.
But he's so easy. The thing I find interesting about Louis is it's so easy to manipulate him, because in this story he is manipulated. He's manipulated by his family, by the people, by all of the white. I'm now in terms of all of the white rich men
at that time.
that take. I mean, what was his choice, right? He couldn't fight back with them. But yeah, Lestat manipulates him. Then Claudia manipulates him into killing their maker. Armand manipulates him, but then also Daniel.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
He is so easy to screw with.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, you know, we've talked a lot about his trauma, but maybe in the next season we will get to see more of Lestat. Lestat has significant trauma, significant personal historical trauma.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say even in the light of that, that's what makes him crazy, but he is more emotionally honest.
Yeah. And I think Lestat is I think I said when we did the video, the episode on autism in media, that I could make an argument for Lestat being autistic. Because well, no, I think because he's so gifted.
Yeah.
And he in his book, he's just, when they talk about his youth, he's so different than everybody in his family, everybody in the town. And then they send him away to the monastery to get educated, and he's so good at it. He can read anything. I mean, he just takes it all in. But at the same time, he's also the guy that is like, oh, these wolves are out there killing, you know, he's like, I guess I'm just going to take this old family sword that weighs about 25 pounds with my two mastiffs, and we're going to go out and kill the wolves.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like, I don't know. Listen, and he's so good on stage, and he's just, I don't know, there's just something so exceptional about Lestat.
Sure.
We know I love him.
But also, and this is going to be the case with every vampire story ever written, that ever has been written, when you have beings of any type that live forever, they're going to warp, right? It doesn't matter what. Now, obviously, we could make a case that just the transition from human to vampire warps them quite a lot.
Yeah.
But then the lengthy amount of time they have to go through life just warps them further. Yeah. That's why I was asking, you know, why do you think Louis is the human one? But yeah, I mean, he just is, he's quite warped. He's quite warped.
Yeah,
after a
so
while.
I hope we find that out. If you guys have not seen the trailer for the Vampire Lestat, it's so funny. It is, you're like, what now? We just listened to this trauma for like an hour. Now you're telling me the trailer is so funny, because that's one of the things that they always, and that was Daniel's job in the TV show, was to give us a little bit of breathing room from the intense, psychotic, emotional reality of these people's life.
Yeah.
And so I'm so excited. And I don't know how many years after their reconnection in New Orleans happens. It seems that, because you ask yourself, so they're hugging in the hurricane, right? They hug it out. They bond over the fact that their daughter died because of them. Yeah, that's the end of this. Like, Armand, everybody else aside, we did this. We turned her, and then we got her killed.
Sure.
Right. So they reconnect on that, and I think that scene is one of the most beautiful scenes. If you can take out of your thought process that that's his abuser, that two broken people who, and maybe I had good friends when I was in my 20s, and they were a lot older than I was, who had lost their son to an accident when he was 16. And they got divorced, actually, but then ended up getting back together, because it's just that the loss of a child, and I pray God I don't have to ever endure that. It it destroys you. How
Right.
could your marriage and your relationship
Right.
get through? Like, it's really, really hard. And so they find their way back to each other, and the hurricane's coming through, and it's raining and it's lightning, and then the shutters and the house starts to shake and everything's breaking, and they're just holding on to each other. I love that scene so much.
Yeah.
I cry. I get goosebumps every time.
Oh.
I do.
Well, the best part is maybe 3 minutes before that, when he's just sitting there playing a piece of cardboard, like it's he comes in and he's like, "What? Don't you hear it?"
And then
Like, oh,
the little moment where the music keeps playing, there's and they start talking to each other, and then out of nowhere, Lestat goes, "Siri, stop." It was that little, like, he knows he lives in the modern world. Like, he knows the world he lives in. He's just in a bathroom with a
So
cardboard
funny.
piano. We don't know why.
Sucking on rats.
Sucking on a rat.
Yeah, that's don't get too romantic that they stood there face to face kissing. He just drunk a rat, okay? That's gross.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then we find out at the very end that Daniel got turned.
He did indeed.
Mm-hmm. And
that is in the
released
original
his
story,
book.
right? He had, like, in the original, Armand turns him.
Armand
Isn't that right?
turns him, but not then. It happens much later.
Yeah.
And it's after Armand keeps Daniel as a pet. It's in Queen of the Damned, and it's a really, like, if you think TV Armand is fucked in the head, you have to meet book Armand.
Right.
Because this is a child who's
even older
severely
than
abused.
Lestat, right? Armand is older than Lestat.
He's older than Lestat, but he doesn't have, he has Marius's blood, but he does not have Akasha's blood.
Right. And still, what, 16, 17, still a kid himself. Just Edward Cullen style over there.
Yeah. Look, guys, this TV show is it's not a show about vampires. It's a show about abusive relationships. So I would say, trigger warning at the end, at the end of the episode.
The end of the episode.
If you've been in an abusive relationship, this might be very triggering versus if you loved the books. It's a lot less explicitly.
I was going to say, I also
relationship.
think it's very overt in the TV show. I don't think they're trying to hide it behind anything else. I don't think that there could be an argument made by people. Well, I don't think it's abuse. No, it's very overt that this is a domestic partner abuse relationship.
Yeah.
So
it is. And then child abuse as well.
Well, for sure. Yeah,
exactly. And all kinds of things. Yeah. I'm so glad you finally watched it.
Well, I'm glad that we did our homework.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you actually, enjoyed it, even though
of course.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
It is a whole lot. And I'm very excited. The Vampire Lestat is coming this summer, but they haven't told us when yet. And Sam Reed was already rehearsing the Vampire Lestat music as they were filming season 2.
Oh, wow.
So so it's good, because you're like, for a while they're like, where the fuck is Lestat this season? He shows up like in memories. He's like a vision that Louis having. And then when you find out that he's in the theater, when they go downstairs and they're like 5 minutes, Mr. de Liancourt, and he turns around, you're like,
oh, that's right.
There's Lestat. Oh shit. It's
He's
going down
here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and you can listen to the music on Spotify.
Oh,
yeah, there's some music that's been released already. And I really, really hope, the actors all say that the music is really, really good. But what are they going to say? It's not.
Hey, you haven't heard it yet?
No, because I want to be surprised.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I want to see him sing it on my TV, But I am excited. Yeah, because I think he said at Comic-Con last year that he modeled Rockstar Lestat after Iggy Pop.
Oh, did he? Oh,
and just seeing a few, like, if you look in the trailer, there's a few quick on stage scenes, and it's like, yes, you did. I see it.
Wow.
It's like a little bit Mick Jagger, but more Iggy Pop. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be fun.
So next week we will be discussing my homework, which was the OA. thank you for giving me the gift of the OA.
I love that show. So I got to share with you a show that you love so much, and so next week you're going to share with me one I love so much. So
we're very, so looking forward to that. And until they see us again, where can they find us on the interwebs?
So we are on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and we are also on Instagram. Join us over there, and we have a Patreon, so check that out.
Yes, and we will not be posting to TikTok anymore. So
for the time being, we're still over there, but we probably won't be adding new stuff over there.
Not going to happen.
Not right now.
You know why? The horrors persist.
The horrors.
And until we see you again,
stay unmasked and overstimulated. Bye, guys.
Bye.